I was just gonna say, I read an article, I believe it was in Smart Shopper, and they were talking about packages of steak in the grocery store and ground beef, and how they are injecting, I don't remember what particular chemical, that allows the meat to stay red and fresh looking
Yeah.
on the shelf longer, even if they were to test it, maybe not so good, but, and how these packages are not marked, that they're doing this, so it's like, the industry is playing so many games with us.
Absolutely.
This dichotomy between trying to improve health versus what commercial food is doing is kind of like we're fighting against each other. And there seems to be this lack of willingness to, play fair.
Right. Well, when you look at,
There's no such thing.
yeah, playing fair gets really sticky when you start talking about the FDA, pharmaceutical companies and different things like that. Who's funding who, who's regulating who is really the question. And it is a big game. As far as the, additives and tricks and games and that sort of thing, the FDA has approved well over 700 food additives. And there's a link that I gave you all on your, I think it's on the second page. At the bottom is, it says links to reference. There's the FDA.gov website. And when you get to that website in the search box, put in the GRAS list. It's GRAS with one S. And it'll take you, if you follow a couple of links, the actual link was really long. You put that on a piece of paper and to have you type that back in the computer was kind of silly. So follow the links once you get to that website. And you'll find a list. They'll break it down into preservatives, and they have a couple different codes as to what it's used for. But there's things like acetone that takes off your nail polish that's an approved food additive. 90% of it is stuff that I can't even pronounce. But there's so many things on it that you're familiar with that are used for different things that are food additives. So it's really crazy. So I suggest you take a look at that, because when you get into commercial products and conventionally grown products, this is the stuff that we're talking about. Tricks about keeping that red, taking scallops and making them larger. Same thing with shrimp and soaking them in tripolyphosphate and different games like that. So when you cook something and it ends up a little raisin, so where'd my food go? It's water weight, it's chemicals, it's different things like that, the tricks that are used. So it weighs more when you buy it. And there's hormones that are given to cattle, so when they leave the farm, they don't lose weight until they get to the slaughterhouse. They maintain their weight and different things like that. So there's a lot of crazy food additives that are out there. The way to get around that is to take organic ingredients and make food yourself. Tomato sauce, for example, can be in a can. It can have citric acid and a lot of other stuff in there just to keep it in the can and keep it on the shelf longer. Where you can make it at home with organic tomato puree, add some onions to it, season it nicely, cook it for 45 minutes, and you have the same product. So there's a lot of things that you can do like that to really simplify recipes that are still quick and easy. You can do it yourself. You saw where it came from. You know you can make it out of a fresh tomato as well. It doesn't take much longer. And you can see where it's coming from. When you buy something that's already prepared, you have no idea. You have no idea what country. You have no idea what chemical. When you read a label and you see all natural, natural flavorings, how many times do you see a label and it says natural flavorings on it? You know where it's made. Natural flavorings are made in a lab. Yeah. And natural flavorings is considered anything that goes towards the flavor of the ingredient as opposed to the nutritional value.
I was on a website about genetically modified foods the other day, and I can't remember what it was, but I was just shocked at about 10 things that I read on there. But
If it was only 10, it's because you didn't read long enough.
I know, right, because I got, after a while, I was just kind of overwhelmed. After about 15, 20 minutes of reading, I was just like, ugh. But it was, I wish I could remember, how I got there, but it had a really good list, like that GRAS list of everything in stuff. And like in chicken stock or chicken broth, natural ingredient is usually MSG.
Yeah, not as common anymore.
Not as common, but
especially
a
in
lot
China.
of things, you think, until I read this, I was thinking that a lot of things that I was eating were fine, and then I was really shocked
Mhm. Yeah,
about natural ingredients.
right. Yeah.
What about washing preservatives off things that you purchase? What about that? Like sometimes we'll purchase sandwich meat or something and I wash it.
No, you won't get the preservatives out.
Tuna,
No. It's in there.
products.
It's Prego, it's in there.
But I mean, you get most of it out, don't you?
No. No. I think,
It's surface.
yeah, you're washing maybe bacteria off the surface or whatever, but when that's ground and that's made, that preservative is mostly salt. For the most part, in sandwich meat, it's a variation of salt. Could be a pink salt, they use several different kinds of salt. And so when you're eating that sandwich meat, if it's still salty, it still has preservatives in it, you need to get it out.
And ham, the same thing with ham.
Right, yeah, you'd never wash the salt out. Never. You can boil it forever, it's still, it doesn't happen.
Goody goody, we can have breadcrumbs. I just read your list.
Whole grain breadcrumbs. Right, yes.
Unless you receive
But when you use it, you have to use, organic eggs if you're breading something, and whole grain flour as well, if you're using the flour breadcrumb kind of method. Which you don't always have to use, you can do
I
flour.
was kind of teasing because we got to wean ourselves off so many things. And I said, oh goodness, breadcrumbs.
Right. So let's get back to the benefits of organic. We talked about that, first of all, that it assists the body in detoxifying, right? Which is something very important. And once your body's detoxed, especially when you're going through medical treatment, it could really help your body be more receptive to the treatment that you're given. Once your immune system can bounce back and it's not, again, fighting off these preservatives, chemicals, and toxins that we're consuming in our food, now your immune system can also help take on and deal with chemotherapy, for example. Because chemo is like poison, right?
Sure it is.
I mean, it really knocks you down before you start to rebound. So you need your body to be as strong as it can, because then you're very weak for a cold, and very susceptible to the flu and other things like that. So you need to be as strong as possible. So detoxifying, letting your immune system really build back. Food is, when you look at how things get into your body, if it's not being injected by chemo, you're breathing it in, you're consuming it through food or a liquid, right? Or you rub it on your skin. That's the only way to get into our body. So people that are overweight are there because of things that have gone in. Because there's the simple ratio is to, if you want to lose weight, is to burn more calories than you consume, right? And if you want to gain weight, it's just the opposite. Bodybuilders and that sort of thing, they're trying to consume as many calories as possible. Also, the organic food, once the inflammation goes down, it really maximizes your digestion as well. So it'll help with the beef. It'll help. The beef is something that is not easy to digest, period. And when we look back at the history of our body, the history as we've evolved over the ages, beef wasn't something that we consumed. It was mostly grains and things that came across grew on a tree or whatever, bushes and that sort of thing. So we've evolved so much just to get to this point where we can digest over time beef and some of the other things that we consume, right?
Right.
And now we're adding all these preservatives to it, and sugar, and all this other nonsense. Our body is just spazzing out, and it has no idea what to do with it. It has no idea how to break it down. We're not made to break it down. It doesn't have the digestive enzymes to break down beef. It's just not there, so it takes longer. And then what it does to turn that into usable energy by your muscles is something else.
God.
Empty out the freezer.
When you start on a new journey like this, it really sometimes the only way to get rid of the temptation is to take it out of your house.
Yep.
Potato chips, ice cream, that sort of thing. If it's there, you're gonna eat it.
No ice cream?
What's ice cream?
Oh, it's heaven.
Oh, that's right.
So-
Cool. I thought you one point.
These aren't my rules, these are how your body's made.
He's just the messenger.
Right.
You look very good, what do you eat?
Not much.
Yeah, look at how nice and healthy he looks and how mean and lean he is. Okay?
It's all by design.
I think he's lean, but I don't know about me.
He can be mean if you eat the wrong things.
Ask my wife.
Oh my God, I can imagine
She's
her
here. She's here.
shopping. Oh,
She's
poor
here, we'll get in
lady.
trouble. So let's talk about, I handed out the glycemic index. Okay, there's a lot of information on here, and I'm gonna explain it how I explain it to a lot of people. And we'll talk about what that is. The important thing to understand is that our body only has so much insulin per meal period, okay? We need the insulin to break down the sugar. Now, when I say sugar, sugar is something that's also natural, found in corn. The sugar can be found in white flour. We'll talk about what the difference between white flour and whole grain flour in a second. Sugar is found in ice cream, and it's found as it described, as it sounds. So we only have so much insulin to turn that into usable energy for our muscles. When we exceed the amount of sugar, or the amount of insulin we have with sugar, or it gets absorbed into our body too fast, that's when it starts to turn into body fat. That's when we have spikes in blood sugar, and for every spike, there's a fall just as bad. And when those falls happen, that's when the cravings start, similar to beef. Okay, so it's at the bottom level where we say, man, I want to be back up to where I was before, I need to eat more beef. What's the same thing with sugar that we talked in carbs, okay? So the glycemic index really kind of takes a formula, but it's about how fast the sugar gets absorbed into our bloodstream and how it gets broken down and the rate at which it gets broken down and turned into usable energy by our muscles. For example, let's use white flour. Okay, white flour loses the brown hull on the grain itself. They strip off the brown hull and they grind the inside and they turn that into flour. That brown hull is the resistance. That is the part that slows down absorption into our bloodstream because it's harder to digest. It's harder to absorb. Okay, so that white flour is like on a mission. That gets into your stomach. It hits your bloodstream faster than if you were to eat sugar itself, or refined sugar. It gets into your body quick. White flour is found where? Bread. Where else? Pasta, yes, but a lot of times it's semolina. But semolina is right up there and right close.
Semolina is bad, you say?
Yes, not as bad as a white flour, but it's still bad. And you'll see it on your list. It's under
Pies,
next,
all
for
that
example.
stuff.
Pizza,
Bread,
pizza.
Yeah, of course.
Pizza crust, yeah, so a lot of, in breading like chicken parmesan, for example, can be dredged in white flour and things like that. So white flour and things, and now corn is the same way. Corn is the same way. Corn is worse than a diabetic than actually eating sugar. And corn, tell me something that corn's not in. Corn syrup, refined